Show number 22.
This Otaku's Life.
Here in the U.S., I live on the side of the country we refer to as the East Coast. And recently we had an earthquake. Now, it's not uncommon for the East Coast to have earthquakes, but it's less common for it to spread as far as Virginia all the way up to the north. I didn't feel unsettled. I was at work, and I just thought someone was coming along the floor along with a very heavy cart. I've worked at other places, not nearly as large of a building, but certainly I worked in corporate parks where the buildings weren't too old, but definitely were young, and when someone would have a pallet jack of heavy servers or paper, you could feel the floor vibrate a little bit. And that's sort of what I felt. It didn't even register twice in my head. I didn't think anything about it. And one of my coworkers got up and ran out. I just thought maybe he was going to go get a coffee break. Didn't think twice about it. Eventually, someone from an office came down to the corner area and started looking out the window. And he was wondering how many people were out there. And there were a lot of people out near the sidewalks. And again, I didn't really think twice about it until he said that we just had an earthquake. It just felt like something was shaking. I thought it was a heavy cart, and I went about my day. Well, thankfully, the building was okay. Thankfully, no one was hurt. And from what I understand, it was a 5.9. I'm not used to earthquakes happening, and I'm really not conditioned to recognize one when it does happen. Certainly, where I was, no chairs were moving on their own. The plants didn't move. Nothing cracked. I didn't hear any crashes. So there was no real strong indicator for me around my environment to know that I was in an earthquake. Now, I'm sure a lot of you who live on the West Coast are laughing at me because you do recognize it. In fact, during that day, I was somewhere getting a snack, and this lady who lived in California was saying, yeah, she was in the middle of a presentation and people were freaking out in the conference room, and she thought nothing of it because she recognized that, well, it was an earthquake. So it brings up to me the idea of environment and relative perspective, and it just reminds me that at some point I should move out of this area and go somewhere completely different, completely out of my element, and go live somewhere else for a while and experience their winters, their summers, the rains, the earthquakes. And so this isn't very insightful, this isn't very enlightening this week, but it's something that I wanted to share with you. It's something that's out of my element, and I didn't really recognize it. And it's funny, because I know what an earthquake is, I know what happens during an earthquake, and I didn't think twice about it. Thank you once again, everyone, for continuing to listen and download. I much appreciate it, and even some new contributions are coming in. That's cool as well, and I will get to cutting them up real soon, and you guys will get to hear a little bit of it. So once again, thank you, everyone, for continuing to listen. And as I mentioned, contribution, easy. We got show IDs. All we need you to do is record some audio and say, "This Otaku's Life," with pauses in between. Do that for us. We will cut them up, we will scramble them, and then we'll make new show IDs so that, you guys don't get bored with the existing ones that we have and then maybe even potentially, I would say, reusing. We also look forward to people telling us a story or sharing a thought or an idea of something we've already covered, or maybe even something new, or as Carl did, sort of a bit of a consolidation of several topics that we've talked about. And you never know, it might inspire a new topic on this end. So if you want to send us contribution, if you want to send us feedback, we have email at thisotakuslife@gmail.com, and we also have Twitter at thisotakuslife, and we do have a website. Just by chance you got here to this podcast without going through the website, it is thisotakuslife.com. And so that's it. Really simple this week. Just wanted to share something and a thought, which wasn't very much, but it was something different for me, and I recognized something about that. So until next week, everyone, have a good one.